another talky video, I'm afraid. But again, as with the last one, it's subjects I feel I really want to cover because it's an area that everyone always seems to talk about quite a lot. And this video I've called, I'll start that again because I've forgotten. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm afraid this is another talky video because again it's an area that I want to discuss. It's an area that's talked about a lot and people have got a lot of input on and a lot of feelings on, and it's an area I'm trying to learn. So it's information I really want to share, and it's information I want to get your feedback on. I've called this video Scan Diagnostics versus Old School. We got old school and oh sorry that's better. Old school versus our scan tool, and we're going to look at that and compare the differences. So let's get on with it. Beam me up, Scotty. Now, Scotty. Yes. What can we say about modern electronics and diagnostics? They never work when you need them. Okay, so getting back to the serious bit now. Yeah, I mean, first thing is time, money and results. So modern diagnostic tools are, you need them because you got the ECU and you've got all the sensors, or you sort of need them. So you got the cost of buying a diagnostics tool. Now I'm possibly going to do a video on that subject anyway, so I'm not going to go too far into that, but essentially you've got to pay out and buy the diagnostic tool to start off with. Secondly, you really need to understand how to use it, something I'm trying to learn at the moment, how to interpret the data that it's giving you to help you diagnose the problem. So you've got your money, you've got the cost, you've got your time in learning how to use it, learning how to understand it and interpret it, and then you've got the results, whether it actually helps you, whether it gets the job done, whether it finds the fault. Certainly I would much rather sit there for an hour or a couple of hours on a laptop and know exactly what is wrong with the car at the end of that without having to open the bonnet or the back in the Porsche Boxster. Would be brilliant. So old school. So old school, money, it means you have to have spare components to swap out, to eliminate what could cause the problems. We work from the symptoms. Now that's an interesting subject, we'll go into that in a moment. Let's just get back on track. So you've got the components, you need components. Now I mean, I quite often keep a lot of spare components second hand, quite honestly, you know. Buying components new for modern cars can be extremely expensive, but they are now coming on they are on aftermarket stuff, or what we used to call pattern parts. Now I know before you all kick off, the argument over pattern parts to genuine parts has been going on probably for as long as cars have existed, and there are pros and cons for all of them. Essentially, all I will say with pattern parts and original parts is it's what you can afford. If you can afford genuine parts, brilliant, get genuine parts. If you can't, then pattern parts. If you can't get pattern parts, or you don't want pattern parts, second-hand parts. Okay, it's down to what's available, what you can afford, and it's not a case of always go for the same thing. Every situation is different. Look at the situation, choose the part that's most appropriate for the situation. Now, often if I swap out a part and it isn't the wrong part, then you've got a spare part that you know is good. I had 2 spare coil packs that I knew were good. So yeah, you got that on your parts. Okay, so you've got your time. Obviously, you've got to climb where with scan tools. Your time is sitting in the car on a laptop, which is much more comfortable and desirable. But your time with old school diagnosis and elimination is, yeah, you've got to get under the car, or you've got to get under the bonnet, and you've got to change these components and try them. And again, the results, if at the end of the day, for the amount of money and the amount of time you're putting in, you are getting the results, then that's what it's all about. So that's the kind of the two balances on the side of each. Now, the other concept is, can the two be used together? I don't see why not, because let's face it, the fundamentals of how an internal combustion engine works is the same as it's always been. It's never going to change. All that has changed is how we're controlling the fuel air mixture that goes into the engine, the timing of when it is ignited. Back in the old days, we couldn't do that. There's no real way you could measure them. You just had to work on the results. Another thing I will say quickly there is a couple of the videos that I've watched trying to learn about diagnostic tools. A few of the people have been very harsh on old school mechanics. They're saying that it's completely wrong and you should not try and diagnose a problem on the symptoms. In the old days, we only had the symptoms. We didn't have data that you get now. There was very little way you could track that. Early 80s, I suppose, early mid 80s, you started to get basic sort of computer tuning equipment which measured the gases from the end of the exhaust and that sort of thing, but they weren't brilliant back then. So we had to work from the symptoms of what it was doing, like that. So yeah, I think there is room for both areas, because there's never any harm to keep a few spare parts kicking around, and if it's reasonably quick and easy to swap a part out, sometimes just swapping a part out that you suspect can get rid of that problem. So there you have the two sides on that argument. Yeah, so it was when Clive came down and said, you know, all his instincts point to a coil pack breaking down under load, and suggested as soon as I got spare coil packs that I start swapping out the coil packs, because they're not difficult to change, and possibly put a new set of plugs in it. And that made me realise that I'd focused very much on the modern system of using diagnostic software to try and identify the problem. And maybe it's time to go old school and just start using the elimination system, just working through each of your various areas of the engine. So in other words, your ignition side of it, your fuel side of it, your air side of it, and your timing side of it. So, you know, start using the elimination system and go through the ignition system. Eliminate the air side of the system. Well, we've already checked for air leaks, as you know, and I'm replacing the mass airflow sensor, so that should eliminate that side of it, which so then means really that we're looking at fuel or timing after that. So that's my thoughts on using old school and using the modern sort of diagnostic equipment. I do want to learn more about the diagnostic side of things, as you realise probably from the last video, and I am looking at getting better diagnostic software, because there is a lot out there now that's not as expensive as it used to be. So I think, and I'm going to do a video on that, looking at the diagnostic stuff and the cost and what's out there, because my channel is about really running a car, maintaining a car, not necessarily a Boxster. I know you all follow Boxsters, but I used to do a lot of classic cars, and I've had other sort of prestige cars, and even a kit car at one time. It's about looking after these and doing them on a budget, because that's the other thing that's happened with this with the coming of diagnostic stuff is you get this thing now where a lot of my friends have come to me and they've paid X amount of pounds to have the car diagnosed by a garage, and then an extra hundreds of pounds to have the car fixed by the garage, and it wasn't fixed. It wasn't the problem, it was misdiagnosed, the wrong thing was replaced. And now, to my mind, and especially in the old days, you would go back to the garage and say, look, I paid you to fix the car, you didn't fix it, so either fix it or give me my money back. But that doesn't happen nowadays. What they do is they charge you again to diagnose it again, and then they charge you again to fix it again, and it may still not fix it. So what you're doing here is you're paying a garage and you're paying through the nose to basically do an old school elimination process. You know, you're not really doing a proper software diagnostics thing. You're doing an old school elimination and you're paying a lot of money for it. People can't afford that. And it's always a good feeling if you know how to do it yourself and you can work through it yourself. Makes you feel a lot better. So we're going to carry on down this front with a few more videos to really try and start to fully understand the modern diagnostic systems. We're going to look for affordable diagnostic stuff that really you can use. It gives you all the stuff you want, which is graphs, I think, mainly at the moment. Once we've got diagnostic equipment that is usable and affordable, we'll then look into more. Hopefully, I think Clive's going to help with this. We're going to look more into how to interpret the data and how to use the data to diagnose problems, and then have a look at maybe either supporting it or backing it up with good old-fashioned elimination processes. If that would interest you, let me know, because it certainly interests me, because obviously I want to get up to speed with this stuff. And we'll see how it goes. So, anyway, we'll be getting on to more interesting, well, maybe you'd find this interesting, we'll be getting into videos where we're going out and about more, because the next video, I believe, is going to be Leeds Castle, out with Clive. You meet Clive for the first time, see some cars there. A little change of content for you, just to liven things up, and I will bring you more on how things are progressing with the problems with my car, and I shall bring you more on this subject. Right, thank you for watching. Any questions in the comments box, any suggestions in the comments box, click like, click share, and I'll see you soon, because the battery's going to go any minute. Thank you for watching. Bye.